invitation from Natalia Mount over there in the beautiful silver coat, right there. And without her, none of us would be here. And I'm really grateful for you for doing sound and tech and lighting and everything.
We're all grateful for you, I'm pretty sure.
It's a mutual gratitude society here. So, now I hope that everyone here got my free handout. This is called V.Vale's Situationist Primer, or Primer, however you pronounce it. If you didn't get it, please come up and get one. And also some, these little, here, good. Yeah, sure. Great. Hooray, everybody. People are actually moving. Right here. Yeah, I have that. What, you have, you have the little one. Okay, I'm kind of a purist in a weird way, and I'm a little too literal-minded because I took Natalia's suggestion seriously that this is about situationism, and the reason I think I'm here is because just by sheer luck and nothing else, I met the most marginal member of the first Point Blank group in San Francisco, actually Berkeley and San Francisco, and that was probably, it's either late 72 or early 1973, but that was the first time that I discovered situationism. I know that word's been critiqued, but that's what we used. And it was sheer luck, just a friend of a friend was involved. He was probably the least known member of Point Blank, but he was definitely, what a character. And I don't know if I should reveal it because they actually made a big deal about not wanting their names told. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. How many people were here in 1972, 73?
He was! Those are the people who were in the group. I met them. I introduced them to situationist ideas.
I don't know about that. Is that you, Isaac? You're always taking credit for everything you didn't do. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But we're talking, were you really here in 72? I mean, your film was done in 82, but I sure didn't meet you then. And the only people I met, okay, I'll tell you the name. Very good looking guy, but I don't know if...
David Jacobs.
No, never. I didn't get to meet him. They were really secret. You know, and I wanted my friend to introduce me, but he said, nah, they're trying to really keep it secret because they really were doing dangerous stuff. I mean, I don't think any of you, maybe in the room, or maybe unless you're like eBay scholars, have read this when it came out the way I did. And this is like what the group, this is what it's amazing. It's only recently I look back and realize how young the people who started local situationist provocations and deeds and, you know, propaganda by the deed and all that, how young they were, like literally 19 or 20. But you can have a mind, an original mind at that age, and you can really do stuff. So I don't know if there's anyone in this room that young, but, you know, it's certainly doable to be an original mind at that early age. But I guess I kind of took it for granted at the time. And you know, in unity and there's strength, and there's like, you can get exponentially more done if you have at least one good friend to collaborate and do projects with. And you can get tons more done, way more done. And that's the strength of Point Blank Group, in my eyes. And it said, now here's the article that came out in the Daily Californian, which I'm reading from a copy of because my copy is way too big and fragile and newsprinty. But, it says 3 sophomore men and a freshman woman have been exposed as principal figures in Point Blank, a small underground collective which circulated thousands of bogus copies of the Daily Californian. Now that's the UC Berkeley paper, if you don't know. And this is on May 18th, and this is 1972. So I guess that's when I met the people, or I met a few of the people. And the 4 are David Jacobs, never met him, Chris Schutz, met him once, Chris Winks, met him several times, and I never met this woman, Sarah, Chetin. Do you know how to pronounce that, Isaac? Anyway, we're talking 72. They share a North Side apartment in a modern apartment house at 2564 Virginia. Now, oddly enough, my friend's girlfriend lived very close to this apartment. In fact, I even painted it for her as one of my, spontaneous jobs to make some money to pay the rent. And my friend, I'll just call him Gary. How's that, Isaac? And he's the one who got me into 2 things. We both were got into them together at the exact same time. One was situationism, because if you were alive in those times, there was hardly any press about situationism in America, at least that I was exposed to. Not in 72, but it was just starting. And it was, no one knew how radical it was in terms of just sheer ideas. And I tried to sum up the main ideas in my handout here, which I, boldly called the situationist. Is it primer or primer? How do you pronounce that? Primer. Who said that?
I said another person who's not American said it.
Thank you. I say primer, you say primer. That sounds like a song. I thought that the most important points that illuminated me back in 72 was just a complete interrogation of the notion of the commodity or things you buy, like t-shirts or whatever we buy. And then the notion of the spectacle, because back then, God, what would Gita Board think about the iPhone now? I mean, it's like, to me, it's like television times 1,000 at least. And of course, the state, which I only know anecdotally about America's political scene changing since Trump got himself illegally elected. But just a few days ago, a friend of mine was driving in a car up from on Highway 5 near San Diego, coming up from San Diego to San Francisco. They had the entire Highway 5 blockaded. They're searching every car for immigrants. That never happened before, I guarantee you. So stuff is happening that's underreported. Not that I'm trying to make anyone paranoid, but just saying. And so the ideas that hit me the most back then were like no work, negation of work, like questioning work. I always was a huge fan of, I'd been brought up to work hard. What do you mean, no work? And of course, no celebrities. And actually, the first time I think I saw this French phrase, ni Dieu ni maître, which is neither God nor master, was around the era of Marquis de Sade. But it seems like that notion is still valid to me. I mean, that's why I put in here, this is a primer, and it's supposed to be super succinct. Humor über alles, No gods, no celebrities, no idols, no leaders, no authorities, no followers, no hierarchy, no labels, no nouns because we're all verbs, no beliefs, belief is the enemy of truth, no delusion-causing language, no work, and then play is the best work, no aesthetics, because it's aesthetics that determine your consumption and what, why you choose this t-shirt instead of that one. So, a lot of people, I don't know. Of course, I wanted to give a positive spin on all that negativity. You got to be positive. So I said, develop all your talents. This is what you're here on the planet to do. And it might take you a lifetime to figure out what they are. Like, I give the example of, you could be born the world's greatest bassoon player, but if you never, ever picked one up, you would never know that. You just don't know what your talents are, and it takes you a whole lifetime, I think, to really figure it out. So it's like something fun to do, something to look forward to. And I think there's such a mystique around creating and being original and, being a poet and all this, but I just love this, the slash and burn situationist suggestion, just appropriate, plagiarize, copy, deturn. What are all those words? Just start stealing, in other words. But then you probably will do something original of your own. And of course, make fun of authority, authoritarianism, make fun of everything. But if that's all you do, then you haven't gotten anything done. And I think we're here to develop all our talents and get something done. And if you ever meet someone, I think the first question you ask them is, well, what have you done? A very simple question. Well, I've made 100 videos with my camera. I have made 20 zines. I've sewn some great clothes, whatever. To me, it's all art. And then I think way underrated is chance and luck in life. Super underrated. Like chance, so important. Like just look for luck. Luck is life. Life is luck, and you just be receptive to chance. And I say that everyone thinks that they're logic machines. Oh yes, all the decisions I make are so logical. I've thought them all out. But I think that's an incorrect notion. I think we're all emotion machines. I think we are definitely, everything we do is driven by a drive, and that drive can be something like anger in my case. I won't go into that. But that's definitely what drove me to publish my first publication on punk, with all the lies and crap that people were saying about punk rock in the straight press and the media. And that made me so angry. I said, no, this is the next revolution, you morons. And so anger is very useful to help you, drive you to get stuff done. And think about that. And then I tried to be a writer all my life, but then I realized, why not just, a lot of what gets in the way of writing is your own so-called identity. Who am I? This kind of thing. And I think just everyone in the room, just get up and try it. Like, wake up tomorrow morning an hour early and just sit in a silent room. Don't check your computer, don't check your email, don't check your iPhone. Just try and sit in a quiet room, no music either, and just with your notebook and pen, just see what arises. And you're just like a spectator watching your own mind, and that's how you channel stuff. Don't censor it either, that's super important. Just sit down and whatever rises, write it down without censorship. I try to do that every morning, actually. And it can definitely overcome a lot of hurdles. Of course, one of the situation's ideas was turn your dreams into reality. And hell yes. I think dreams are more real than real life. Sometimes they're just amazing. If you can keep dream notebooks, you would just learn so much about yourself. Because everyone thinks, oh, I'm not an artist. That's bullshit. Everyone is. Because In your dreams, you are the scriptwriter. You are the costume designer. You are the set designer. You are the architect of the buildings. Everything in your dream, you made, you created. And so, hell, you're an artist. And I also say that everyone's both a scientist and an artist, and people say, I'm not a scientist. Well, yes, you are. You want to know the way the world really works without any of the bullshit. That makes you a scientist. You don't want to be conned by stuff. So anyway, and my last point on this primer is avoid dualism. There's always a third way. Because a lot of times people give you quandaries like either this or that, and no, there's always a third way. That's why Genesis George tattooed the number 3 on his little thumb area, so he could always be reminded, not to fall into the trap of dualistic thinking and, either this, that either or thing that William Burroughs so attacked. So anyway, back to point blank. I'm here because I gotta be one of the only people who met these people in the room in 1972, right? If anyone else did, show your hands.
I met them in 71.
Ooh. Prove it. I'd say prove it. Why did it take you 11 years to make a movie?
I can prove it.
Okay.
There's documents on the walls that prove it here.
Okay, well, hooray. Good.
I would have brought it up and you asked.
So yeah, Isaac here, I don't think you were in the point blank group.
They found us from 1970.
Who's
It
us?
was like the Ramones.
CEM, Council for the Eruption of the Marbles, predated them in Berkeley.
Well, sorry, I never heard of him. I mean, I can only go on the information I have.
You're willing to change your ideas if new facts come in, right?
Well, everyone to toot their own horn, but let me tell you, you didn't do as much as these guys, Isaac. I don't want to put you down. But these guys put out a whole bunch of pamphlets. Let's see, Riot or Ritual, 7-point program of the Berkeley PRG. You suckers, you've been had. He who laughs last. And this is before 72, before May 30th. And then they did this Daily Californian thing, which was like, that's a big project. Stealing 6,000 Daily Californians and replacing them with your counterfeit issue. I mean, that's some gravitas to that. And and this is so funny because you got to understand, I'm more concerned about spirit than I am about facts. But this is the spirit that I liked. Jacobs, Schutz, and Cheaton, or Chetin, Sarah, were among 6 persons who appeared at this reporter's apartment, and another Daily Californian staffer present knew 3 of the men at Palo Alto High School, and the staffer could not identify the others. 2 other men, about 19 or 20, one of which may have been Winks. I'm quite sure the unidentified one is my friend that I call Gary. And the 6th appeared to be in his late 20s, spoke with a French accent. Now here's what I'm coming to. All 6 left in a huff. 15 minutes after their arrival, when it became clear that the Daily Californian intended to publish the names of Point Blank members. I love this. There are 6 of us and only 2 of you, said one, adding, we can be back with a lot more. One of the group tried to yank the phone cord from the wall as he left the room. Another grabbed a stack of Point Blank literature, and as they left, one pushed open a window from the sidewalk outside, and waving his hand into the room, he shouted, it would be really easy to toss a Molotov cocktail in here. I don't know, I just thought that was funny. I mean, that's the spirit. That's the balls it took to be in this early Point Blank group. Because like my friend was like a little crazy. He would like drive about 80 miles an hour on Fell Street, for example. He was I don't know why he never got a ticket, and then I went to a party at his house when he lived on, I guess it was Powell or Mason, and during the party he grabbed this little 380 Beretta pistol and went blam 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 out the window. I said, "What the fuck? Why did you do that?" And I thought, oh shit, the cops are gonna come. Should I leave now? But they never came. You believe you can get away with that in a major city like San Francisco, Powell, between Union and Gilbert Street? Anyway, this is like a kind of wild spirit that I'm trying to communicate to you, which of course also got extended into punk rock. And I consider punk rock definitely informed by situationist ideas, even though most of the young kids involved in punk, they probably didn't know that's where the ideas came from. But some of us knew, like me and Malcolm McLaren. And we stole situationist ideas and put them in I put them in Search and Destroy. There's a number of pages in the Search and Destroy for sale back there that are definitely situationists, and in the Research Tabloid. And then in the Pranks, the entire 2 Pranks books are totally situationist inspired. I mean, they are trying to apply situationism to daily life. And it's pretty amazing what you can do if you just have maybe one friend helping you, and you can get a hell of a lot done. And like most of my publications, super small staff, but by God, there they are. And let's see. But this is like a small war campaign. On the morning of May 18th, 1972, some people saw the occupants of 2 minibuses replace the just delivered issues of the real Daily Californian with Point Blank's counterfeit edition. It says, an estimated 6,000 copies of the DC disappeared. One of the minibuses was traced to a university junior who asked that his name be withheld because of a recent death in his family. That's a good line, one to memorize. And he said, I loaned my minibus to a friend. And then they found the friend. The friend apparently turned it over to a member of Point Blank. And anyway, all 4 Point Blank principals began their activism in high school. People said Jacobs is the most gifted and dedicated member. I really wish I could have met him, but I think he really was trying to be secret. And if you want to be secret, I think you can succeed. Everyone wants to be a celebrity, but fuck that. I mean, if you want to get real hardcore stuff done, you better be secret. I mean, all the times that Mark Pauline and I and SRL went out and stole stuff, well, I mean, this is the first time I ever said that. But there was more to punk going on than you might know. That's all I can say. And I think, speaking of SRL, that they are the most original thing ever to come out of punk anywhere in the whole world. I mean, they invented their own genre. We'll take over whole city blocks. Now, mind you, this is in the 70s, 80s, that you could get away with this. We'll take over a whole city block. We'll make these giant machines. We'll have the loudest noises you ever heard on Earth. We'll have, all this fire and flame shooting out. We'll make flamethrowers. We'll destroy all kinds of props, and we'll have really great music playing, and we'll also have very propagandistic posters, and we're just gonna put the loudest show on Earth happening. And it's like, if you never got to see one, well, you missed it. It'll never happen again. I don't think anyone's raised themselves up to the standard of putting on an SRL show again. I mean, you have to learn welding. You got to learn you have to definitely learn how to break into locks. And I mean, there's a lot of esoteric knowledge. Anyway, So, but it all really, I mean, Mark knew about situation too, partly through me. And I came out of surrealism, and before then Dadaism, but I turned Mark onto this book by Raymond Roussel called, two books, Impressions of Africa and Locus Solus, and he claims that the books gave him a blueprint to start survival research labs. You find other hardcore, rebellious, angry young men mostly to make machines with. And you make these huge machines, and you just do things that have never been done in the world before, and you don't make any money. And you don't even get famous. That's proof how underground they were. So back to 72, the essential, I kind of like this. I mean, this reporter was young, probably a teenager, just like the Point Blank people for the most part, but he did some pretty decent reporting, like without censorship. The essential message of Point Blank literature is serious. The leaflet riot or ritual asserted that until everyone realized that they have no control over their lives, the May revolt in Berkeley will remain nothing more than just another impotent student protest. And the leaflet set up the 1968 French student revolt as a model because it exhibited a desire to change everything. Now that is a heavy statement. Change everything. And resisted all attempts by would-be leaders, no leaders, remember, to represent it and thus manipulate and misrepresent it. And of course, it's true, Point Blank people didn't want their names in the article because they thought they would lose, I don't know, get kicked out of the school maybe, lose some funding, financial aid, jobs. But, you know, the good old establishment here says, well, civil action can only result if the victims of Point Blank were to file complaints, and nobody did. And the police were consulted. They said they would not file complaints on their own because no felonies were involved. This is so funny to me. Situationists were especially active in Strasbourg during their I think it was 1967 student revolt, where absurdist pamphleting, street theater, classroom disruptions were thought by many students to have raised the general level of revolutionary consciousness. And it gives the usual summary that everyone in this room knows. French situationist literature is traced back to 1957. International Situationist, edited by Guy Debord, began publishing in 1968. The movement now claims followers in London, Copenhagen, and New York, and of course now Berkeley. Situationists consider themselves heirs to the Surrealists and Dada. They call them aesthetic philosophies. I mean, Andre Breton wished he had written a revolutionary philosophy. And it says the significant difference between modern situationists and their predecessors 50 years ago is that the newbies are more concerned with exposing absurdity in politics than in art. And that's probably true. So, now the one thing that impressed me the most, and I don't have slides of all of them, were the really funny cartoons, appropriations that unknown people did. But I think the cartoons are, to me, some of the key contributions historically of the so-called early situationists. And I realize that there's 1 million splinter groups, which our friend here has named. And I don't want to be the judge to say how situationist are they, but let's be generous and embrace them all. I mean, but a lot of them, I lost a list of all these other situationist groups that started, and I'm talking about back in the day, before 1980. But then when you do a little investigation, it's usually just one person calling themselves a group, which is what Mark Pauline did when he started Survival Research Labs. He thought, oh, people give you a lot more respect if you're a group. If it's just your name, you know, well, good luck with that. And so, let's see. So I remained friends with this one situationist, Gary. He worked on Search and Destroy, my punk publication, and we do think that situationist ideas definitely were there in the background behind punk. The lyrics, especially one of my favorite notions is the notion of black humor. Like, you black humor the whole damn world. You know, everything that makes you mad, every authoritarian scenario you encounter, every authoritarian language use, you got to make fun of it. You can't just get angry. You've got to make humor out of it, or you'll give yourself an ulcer. We don't want ulcers, do we? So I guess I'm done. I mean, sort of, because I think, like I said, I think punk was an extension of situationism. And the sad thing I don't see here, I have 4 boxes of what I call situationist material. There's a ton that's not here on the walls. And I don't see any of the great books that came out that I have. Books, French books. I mean, I'm like a curious person, and I'm a mail order person. I didn't do mail art, really, but I started sending away for stuff in the 6th grade, and that never stopped. I got all this stuff direct from France and England, and I just have stuff that I don't see here. It worries me. But anyway, it's a great start. This room is a great start. But it's only the tip of the iceberg, I assure you. So any questions? I mean, not that I can answer anything. And I wish we were all a little closer so I could see you better, but what the hell? Who's that? I can't even tell who that is.
I'm Eddie. I just have a question. So I'm curious to what kind of things do you think are missing from here? I'm just kind of curious to see what we're potentially things that are important.
Well, I'm talking when you know, I use the word situationism seriously, and I'm referring to stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, generated 100% in France, French language. And I have a bunch of this stuff, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. But I'm talking about those years, those missing years. That concerns me, that's all.
Why didn't you bring them?
Are you kidding? Four 40-pound boxes of papers?
This is the show about the Bay Area situationism, which apparently you're the great expert on.
I'm not an expert. I just tell you, I lived through motherfucking stuff, unlike you. You're like an intellectual or something. I'm not a fucking academic and museum goer. I lived through this shit. I mean, punk rock is heavier than you think.
Yeah, but you're pretty incoherent.
What?
You're pretty incoherent.
What do you mean?
In terms of your analysis, your understanding.
I'm just saying that I'm surprised there isn't a lot more of Determinant of comics going on.
I would agree.
And that's my favorite thing. That makes me laugh the most.
Yeah, I would agree. Well,
I mean, look, I consider you, my friend, to be a little bit self-promotional. And I'll tell you why. Anyone can start an art strike and this kind of bullshit, and no one comes, and it doesn't get any publicity
people
at the
fucking
time.
came, man. People came. You didn't come.
I didn't know about it. No one did outreach to me. What loop? A loop of about 30 people who live in the mission? I mean, you know, that's what happens to these little political splinter groups.
Why are you so insistent on saying that point blank started it because you found them?
Because look at, I judge by results. See those posters up on the wall there, the four ones? They got huge publicity.
You're looking at the wrong part of the wall. There's plenty of stuff that was done before that that's on the walls here. Just have the doctor show up and look at it.
Can I ask?
It wasn't distributed. It didn't even come to City Lights Bookstore.
Oh, if it didn't come in City Lights, it didn't exist?
Well,
You, man.
well, I didn't say that exactly, but I'm saying that City Lights is definitely a nexus of rebel culture, and if you neglected it because you're stuck it out at ATA and you didn't leave with more than a block away, well, I don't know what to tell you.
You're telling us reality.
Can I ask a question?
I only tell you my reality, pal. Each person in this room has their own goddamn reality, and they better.
We are.
Well, I can't hear that. I can't hear what you said.
It's going to be shows to be a benefit for the Black and Brown Film Festival that's happening in Oakland, San Francisco in August. Mike Dada right over there is helping with it.
Oh, good. Hi, Mike.
Hey, say hi to your friend, Mike.
Hi.
Oh, this woman in front is waving frantically.
Yeah, because you know what, there's so much male ego here. I mean, it's just like ridiculous.
Amen. Hey, thank you for that.
So, not, you know, learning a little bit today here. Does situationism always have to have a political bent?
Well, you know, ever heard of the phrase, the politics of everyday life and everyday living? It's sort of a political act if you, like, buy a Foster Farms chicken or buy an organic one from a small farm.
Yeah, but I mean a current, like a reaction to whatever's...
You mean Trump? What do you think all those marches were about? The
certainly,
women's march.
Certainly. Because I think there's a lot of situationism going on all the time in my world,
Hooray.
in art and things that are happening, but is that part of this a continuation, or is it just what we do?
If you say it is, it is.
Yeah.
We each construct our own reality. Kind of. But it does overlap with other people's now and then. But yeah, I think every act of consumerism, which is, by the way, the situations were the first in my consciousness to really go deep and drill down deep into trying to, you know, Freudianly analyze and more, you know, every act of consumption that we engage in. And, well, that struggle continues daily. I try never to go to stores if I can help it. There's a reason.
I just want to calm things down.
What, you just wanted to what?
Calm things down.
Oh, you did.
Bravo.
Remember, all of us speak only from their own backgrounds. None of us knows everything, and I don't claim to. I just was here to testify on my personal experience. That's all.
Thank you.
We have one question.
Oh, okay. Stand up, please.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering, I know you've been to a lot of punk rock shows, I imagine, right?
Oh, not nearly enough.
Yeah, I hear that. What would you consider the most powerful and influential female punk band?
It's not a band. I love Vivian Westwood. I read any interview I can find.
There you go.
That's a real thinker. I mean, that's an amazing woman. She's way underrated. I'm shocked that, anyway, someone should do a book of her best sayings. She is just amazing.
Yeah, she was very influential, I agree with you on that.
I wish I had all the English media that did interview her. I mean, she's like heavier than Malcolm McLaren to me.
Oh, yeah.
No, there's so much research still to be done. It never ends. Take my word for it. Anyone who's self-satisfied needs to sit on a corn cob. What?
Can I make a pitch for something? Yes. If you guys are interested, in fact, over there, you've got the first edition of Society of the Spectacle and the first edition of Misery of Student Life, which was the Strasbourg event that you mentioned. So it goes back to like the 60s material. So if you're interested in seeing what it looks like, it's kind of in the back.
Great. Well, needless to say, my pranks book, which has an interview with that Gary person that I met who turned me on to, we both discovered not only situationism, but more important, and just as important, J.G. Ballard at the same time. We both became obsessed by both. That's why I ended up doing 4 books on J.G. Ballard, putting him in Search and Destroy as well as doing my best to promote. One of my projects was going to be an anthology of what I considered the most valuable ideas of situationism, but I announced that in '82, but sadly that never came out. The world might be a better place. I guess that's it. Jeez. Well, I hope you... And I should make a pitch for the music you heard. The electronic music is played by Marion Wallace over there, and the piano is played by me. So anyway, my pranks books are for sale. If you want to help pay my bridge toll, please do.